clashes are erupting on the streets of Paris amid May Day protests. The CNN team on the ground have witnessed fireworks, other projectiles being thrown as police who answered with tear gas. Just take a look. It looks like a rainy day in Paris right now. And looks like their clashes are erupting once again. Taking a live look there. Look, May Day, May 1st is a day treated as a holiday in many countries to support sorry, the control room speaking to me. May Day is often celebrated with demonstrations as a holiday to recognize labor rights. It is hitting differently this time, this May 1st in Paris, because this is coming against continued kind of outrage and controversy over French President Macron's move to reform and overhaul the pension system there, which also included raising the retirement age by 2 years. Melissa Bell is on the streets for us in Paris. She's joining us now, I think, on the phone. Melissa, if you can hear me, tell me what you're seeing. Oh, there.
Kate, what we're seeing here at the very front of the protest, this is where the Black Bloc traditionally see confrontation with the police. And as you can see, Kate, that's exactly what's happening today. Compared to the last few protests where we've been out here for pension reform, we've seen a lot more of these Black Bloc than we had at many of the other protests. And I think that's why you're seeing it get so confrontational with the police so early on. There's an awful lot of tear gas in the air. There's been a lot of projectiles going back and forth and some pretty violent clashes already. This is just the very front of the protest. Kate, oh, so sorry.
Melissa, you doing okay, Melissa?
The tear gas is so heavy. Kate, out there, I can barely breathe, but sorry. Just to give you an idea, this is of course the very front of the protest. As I was saying a moment ago, this is the very front of the protest, and the idea is that the Black Bloc, as they lead things off, try and see confrontation with the police. And as you can see today, that's what they've been doing fairly successfully. An awful lot of them out on the streets here. 12,000 policemen on the streets trying to keep these marches peaceful, Kate. This is also traditionally May the 1st. This is a day when people come out to protest in any case. So the police had expected this particular day, because of the pension reform protests we've seen that have gone so violent these last few weeks, to be even better attended than some of the protests we've seen recently, and possibly the best attended May the 1st protest we've seen in many, many years. Certainly, they're proving to be some of the most animated so far and very early on in the day that we've seen in a long time, Kate.
Absolutely. And Melissa, we're going to stick with you as long as we can. And please tell me how you're feeling, because everyone can understand how impossible it can be to continue to report live when you have tear gas filling your lungs. But talk to me, because you and I have had this conversation over, now it's over weeks of Macron had proposed this, the protesters came out, the equivalent of the Supreme Court in France then said that these reforms can go through. So what is going to happen now, despite all these flash bangs that I'm hearing behind you?
That's right, Kate. I mean, that's the point. This is happening, right? From September, the French will incrementally start working more and more each year until they reach their retirement age by 2030 of 64. Pretty low by European standards, but here in France, a very soft nerve, as you can see. And the way that Emmanuel Macron carried it out, you mentioned a moment ago the Constitutional Council, by pushing it through without a parliamentary vote, has really added to a lot of the anger. Now, a lot of the people that you're seeing around me here, the Black Bloc, these are some of the most extreme elements. You're talking about the very far left that come out to these protests seeking confrontation with the police. The vast majority of the protesters that are following in the march, I think it's important to add, the trade unions, the people who've come out here to peacefully demonstrate, are in the vast majority. But the point is that all of the people out here on the streets today, whether they are the Black Bloc, whether they are the more peaceful protesters behind me, know that they're coming out to protest against a pension reform that may be going through, but that is vastly opposed by a majority of the French population. So it is something like 62% of the French that are opposed to this reform. And I think most importantly, Kate, one of the most interesting statistics is that since this began on January 19th, the protests, the strikes, they've now continued for all of those months, with all of the trouble and the difficulty and the chaos and the gridlock that brings to French people. The popular support in favor of this movement, in favor of this protest movement, has actually risen by 11%. So that is really what the people out here on the street are hoping to tap into. The fact that the French are extremely angry about this reform, and that anger has appeared to grow.
Yeah, and as we're all seeing, the police line moving just past Melissa and her team there. Melissa, stay safe. We're gonna check back with you as we've seen, and then they rush in to kind of move the line and to move the protesters back. We saw this as we've been talking to Melissa over the weeks of these protests, how they can flare up really, really quickly. And we've been seeing projectiles, fireworks, tear gas being responded back and forth. Melissa, thank you so much. We're going to stick close to Melissa and her team in Paris, see how this continues to develop.